Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at Alchemia. This is a 2018 game from Matthew Brown, who is a kind of independent game developer on Steam, mostly known for making the Hex Cells, Square Cells, Cross Cells series of one-screen puzzle games. Those games are very much minimalistic in their visuals, mostly being white with some offset of blue. This game going for much more of a natural look in what looks really like one of the best looking tables I think I've ever seen in a game, and just books in general. Of course, what's in the book is what really matters. I seriously doubt that the candle or the slight moisture slash maybe candle wax marks on the table mean anything. It is still a very simplistic game, and basically I imagine it is going to be a one-screen game, but the puzzles here are not going to be, I think, quite as simplistic logic puzzles like Hex Cells is, because Hex Cells is effectively just Minesweeper with some extra rules and different shaped tiles, whereas I think we're going to get more into the weeds of cryptography in this game. Let's turn the page. Now, I don't think there's actually any controller support here. In fact, I'm not really even seeing any mouse support. So this literally may just burn down to a keyboard game, which there's been a few keyboard only games I've played and I've never been super happy with them. The inputs on the keyboard alone never quite accurate enough for even a simplistic game. Oddly, I suppose that would be a step backwards compared to Hex Cells, which definitely had mouse support. Alchemia, or the study of elements and their transformation, or alchemy as it's more commonly known, authored by the natural philosopher and revered Benedictine brother Basil Valentine, containing... here's the problem. I didn't expect the text to be this small, and I have my TV monitor 10 feet away, so I am literally having to pull out my cell phone and zoom in to read the text, because my eyesight has just gotten slightly bad enough that small text on a game is not readable. Okay, it says containing what should probably be sacred, but it says LACRED or FACRED. Maybe there's a hint in this, because it seems like the S has been replaced in that paragraph with a F, which there's probably a secret in that. So it should read containing sacred knowledge on the creation of the Philosopher's Stone and the secret of the arcanums of nature. What's interesting here, though, is while the F replaces the S in sacred, Philosopher's Stone, and secret, it is not replaced in arcanums of nature. Dedicated to what should be the memory to his... No, it should be majesty. Dedicated to his majesty, King... I assume this is supposed to be Randolph II, but it's all misspelled and it's getting worse. There's definitely a code in this. You don't get this many misspellings, particularly in old books. Cognitations est Here we have a Latin phrase. Cognitationis est don vi, and the camera closed because you can't have a camera open that long. Est donvum de. Oh, I assume maybe that would be the thing you should undecode. Printed in London by E.G. Priestley, translated into English for the first time. And then it says Anno, and then MDCLXXVII, which, yeah, that would take a while to calculate, to translate that into numbers from Roman numerals. So yeah, immediately I see that there's a code here in the first page. Let's see the second page. Man, how can I fix this so I'm not having to look at this the whole time? Well, fortunately I do have a third monitor that I use to look at things, and so what I'll do is I'll project using OBS this to that. Okay, that makes it a lot easier to read. So what I've done is I've taken the screen that's being captured and you can project it to a different monitor, and my third monitor is a lot closer to the left of me, so now I don't have to hold the camera in front of me, because this is obviously going to be a decent amount of reading. I don't know how long this game really is going to be though. It could be very short, it could be very long, and there is a potential here that I'm going to have to straight up Google things. On the left side you have an RMB, but oddly below that you have Librum Apparet, which none of that would actually match with RMB. To the reader on the right, it says there's no more holy and notable pursuit, that should probably be pursuit, than that of alchemy. To study, again the code seems to be followed here, his grand creation and marvel at its wondrous beauty. Let's just skip the misspellings for this point and read it as I think it should be read. Our society is forever indebted to the works of sages past, for without them we would have no bricks or glass, no ink or paper, no beer or wine, no salts or metals, no adequate medicines. The goal of all good and holy alchemists should be to aid the poor through chrysopia. Yeah, I don't know really what that word is supposed to be, and heal the sick through chemistry or chemiatria. However, some would seek to use the great knowledge for their own wicked means. To that end, I write my instructions as plainly as I dare, to illuminate for the adept, but to make a fool of the unjust. BV. Then at the bottom it says Ars longa vita brevis. Now what I'm hoping here, and what I would hope for any kind of system like this, is that at some point this book is going to just have me directly type in answers to retranslate the book. So the F equals, or the L equals S, basically is something we've already recognized, or the lowercase l equals S. I'd like to be able to type that in and fix the text. This text that's being shown really does just look like a font, so there really wouldn't be a hard, a lot of programming necessary, a lot of animation necessary to fix text. What I'm not hoping for, as I drink some water, is that this is a 100% text-based game and there is no inputs whatsoever. Let's see. On the left here we have a bunch of symbols. Not any of them are really alchemy symbols to my knowledge, and they are in a probably cryptic grid. Noticeably there are letters above and below each symbol. It says remove the false emblems and leave only true. Rearrange what remains to build the key anew. A triolith printmaker hides but one another with the canon of Bridlington. So I may have to go and Google canon of Bridlington. I might also have to type in triolith. Inherently, if something's misspelled and I type it into Google, or DuckDuckGo to be more exact, it probably will just bring up a walkthrough for this game. Faust, I assume, is who they're mentioning here. Faust holds two for all his glory, and last in the eternal alchemist's laboratory. And then it says abscondite est insigne. What's getting me about this though is there's just no mouse or keyboard inputs other than left and right on the number pad or on the arrow keys. Let's see. On the right we have what looks like a completely different cipher. At Babel a tongue did split, but through gematria a link still sits. The sages did imitate in kind, so their recipes no other would find. Study their works in page and word, for the first of each clue is the first of each is a clue confirmed. And then there's an alchemy symbol at the bottom and it says lingva mater. Let's just kind of skip ahead here. So there's several of these puzzles that seem to give you alchemy symbols. And I would guess that's close to all of the alchemy symbols that we're going to use. Yeah, that's a decent amount. I recently played a different alchemy game that was really more of a match puzzle game. Wow, it really does just feel like there's no interaction whatsoever. Let me just hit F1 and see if anything happens. No. Let me just see if typing anything does something. The WASD works. Let me check the keys around WASD. Okay. I think I'm just going to cheat at this point. cheat a little bit. I'm going to try and see a review or a discussion on the Steam page for this game. If I can figure out how to get to discussions on the Steam page. Yeah. There is some kind of achievement talk. Let me go back and actually see if there are actual achievements. Yeah, there's literally one achievement, so there must be some way to interact with this. But I don't know how you would even interact with it. Like, I'm very, very confused here. Hmm. See, I just need something simplistic here that says how to play, or something that tells me my mouse cursor should be showing up. Research outside the game does seem like it is fairly connected, but it does seem like you couldn't possibly make a software that would be able to spy on where you're going from Steam. That would be crazy. See, really, I just want something to tell me yeah, here's a discussion. Can I safely use Googles without spoiling the riddles? Which almost certainly the answer is no. Is this game printable? Let's see what this says. It does just seem like there's no win input. It's so odd that this game is on this level that that you probably are just going to get like a URL and solve it that way. And see, I kind of bought this game blind without doing any research, just on trusting the small creator. But it's also so weird that this creator would make such a simplistic game that's even more simplistic than Cross Cells, because Cross Cells has actual let's see. Yeah, and I'm basically just looking at a walkthrough right now for the answers, just to try and figure out the what you're supposed to do. Hmm. 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 Okay. So it feels like it would make a lot more sense for the game to straight up tell you the final goal first. Because in accessing any video game, you need that overarching goal. And it seems like the overarching goal here is that you're going to do some kind of combination of page turns here, like this. Not specifically this, but you're going to do something like that, and you'll hear a sound, and then there'll be something on the cover, and that'll get you the achievement, the one achievement in the game, assuming that he even can give you the one achievement in the game, because if you had gotten this game earlier, before a lot of people bought the game, the achievements were limited and locked. That's because of a Steam protection system that they implemented several years ago. I don't know if they even really follow it much now, where they're just trying to prevent people from making achievement games. And this would be potentially a game that could be classified as an achievement game if it was really easy to get the one and only achievement that it offers. Not that getting an achievement actually does anything on Steam, it just gets highlighted on your profile if you get all the achievements in the game, and that's it. It doesn't lead to getting trading cards or anything that you could sell on the market or anything like that. Making trading card games was much more of a hassle, but there was apparently some insanity in fandom around it. So yeah, it doesn't feel like there's any input, and I can't even get the mouse to show up to draw on the screen. So if I was going to remove the false emblems and leave only the true, rearrange what remains to build a key anew. That's the first part of that, and then a trial life printmaker hides but one, another with the cannon of Bringlington. Which one of those could possibly even be a cannon? Well, the symbol may have nothing to do with that. Faust holds two for all his glory, which Faust had a staff and a drowned book, but as far as I understand Faust and haven't actually read it, the last in is in the Eternal Alchemist's laboratory. Which that would give me several answers, not just one. And see, the problem inherently with making any game that starts with you having to look up a walkthrough to figure out what even the final goal is now I just have the walkthrough right in front of me. So why not just spoil the whole thing and skip the research completely? Let's just go through the guide. Like, I don't think there's any reason to not just beat the game completely as it is, because this is not a game that I'd really come back and want to touch. There is a love of secrets and cryptography in this game that I can already tell is too high, and at a certain point this probably shouldn't have been a video game, particularly a PC game, as much as it should have been a cell phone game or a printed book. Yeah, and even as a printed book, it's too small of a book to really sell or make. I mean, inherently, even at this, you know that the puzzles have to be super difficult or the game has to be super short, in that there's less than 10 pages. I would have wanted to take a step back and started with some very simplistic pages. I definitely would have demanded that there have been some kind of magicalness to the book in which you can add input of some sort, even just fixing the S typos. But yeah, so the first part says remove the false emblems and leave only true, rearrange what remains to build a key new. This is pretty straightforward. Rearrange the letters on the true emblems to build the key. The second sentence says a Trilosy, TYROLSE printmaker hides but one, which that I'd have to Google that. The Trilosy printmaker is Stephen Michaelspacker, and then it has a link to Wikipedia. The work in question is Kabbalah Spiegel der Kunst und Natur in Alchemia. So there's a entire book that they're referencing that you would have had to figure it out. But the entire title in question there, I don't know how that relates to a symbol. Like, these are just linkings to archives.orgs and Wikipedia links. Another is with the Canon of Bridlington. The Canon of Bridlington refers to George Ripley. The relevant document is Ripley Scrolls. The Ripley Scroll, or yeah, the Ripley Scroll. Faust holds 2 for all his glory. Faust clearly refers to the historical figure. There's an image from a specific grimoire attributed to him on Wikipedia page that might attract your attention. It's the Praxis Magia Faustiana. I guess I was just assuming Shakespeare Faust reference there. And then it says the last in the eternal is in the last in the eternal alchemist's laboratory. This doesn't really need a hint, but for the sake of completeness, the eternal alchemist's laboratory refers to the first stage of the great work, popularly known as the alchemist's laboratory. Alright, so had you done all that research, what does that mean at all? It says the third plate of the Kabbalah, 39th page of the provided link, shows the man in the moon emblem, which is AMD. So the emblem at the very far right. So yeah, this game almost certainly is tied to the impermanent Wikipedia. Archive.org I think is a little bit more permanent, but Wikipedia is designed to be very editable, so like you're not going to be able to actually play this game if Wikipedia drastically changes. And the onus definitely is not on Wikipedia to stay the same just for some dumb game, which I have to, at a certain level, call this a dumb game, because this definitely feels like the kind of game that a precocious 6-year-old would make up, where they're just making up the rules as they go and aren't really applying any of the lessons learned as far as video game making. Inherently, you would want a very simplistic puzzle at the very beginning that would be something that you had to do over and over again and get very used to. Something as simple as just like a Caesar cipher or a shift 1 up or down cipher to be able to read the rest of the book. And you'd like it to be automated because it should be an interactive media. I couldn't even really call this game or compare this game to like a visual novel because it's not really telling you a story and not really trying to push you forward towards a conclusion. So, yeah. The third page, Plate of the Calabria, 39th page on the link provided, shows the man in the moon. The Ripley scroll has a page including an image of 3 circles connected in lines. That would be in G, so the one on the far left and far right. The Praxeus Magna Faustina has a symbol of 3 lines in E. And on the back side of page 4, and the symbol resembling a clover, that is the OM, on page 7. So you basically have to flip through each of these books. In the Alchemist library, an hourglass is sitting on the table on the left for LE. Counterintuitively, these are the true emblems. The resulting letters are NGLEO MADNE. Unscrambled, that letter means golden mean, which you just have to unscramble it and get that word, which I feel like you could unscramble that to be something else, certainly, which refers to Icarus flying the middle path between 2 extremes. In this case, this is literally the middle of 2 letters. For example, X and Z, between X and Z is Y, between N and Z is T. Follow this rule to decrypt the letter pairs in single letters. I don't think you're seeing my magnifying app open to read this, but if you are, it's screwing up the screen quite terribly. So yeah. Wait a minute. What are we supposed to be doing to unscramble what letters? Interestingly, the walkthrough at that point moves on to the next page, which is not really what you would want to do. So I'm having to scroll down to see if it comes back to that and tells me the actual answer. So the golden medium then would be a hint towards not like finding the middle between each of these letters again and finding a code encoded in a code. it's instead around the point here. Yeah. See, I don't know if there's anything special here about this final page. So, the answer to the first page, first puzzle, then needs to be applied to this puzzle. The encryption scheme, I suppose, for the second puzzle is here, applied here, third here, fourth here, fifth here, sixth here, seventh here. And at a certain level, I would think maybe I just want to spoil the whole thing, but you're really gonna just need a walkthrough through this, and there's not really a benefit to spoil the whole thing, or to take the middle steps to spoil the whole thing. At least if I'm gonna cheat, I might as well just cheat and just throw up my hands and give up and realize that I basically got sold a very short game here. And that's certainly going to punish somebody who wants their money back, or punish the creator quite a bit, just because the game isn't that long. This game could be incredibly long if you had it open while you're doing all the research. But if you just opened it up and, say, took a screenshot, then closed it, and then solved all the puzzles on paper first, then opened it up and put in the combination pages, you would do perfectly fine to beat this game in less than 2 hours and get that 2-hour no questions asked refund. Of course, as a YouTube content creator, it's not quite that simplistic. And I wouldn't do the refund because of that, but I wouldn't blame a regular consumer for doing that either. So I'm trying to see what the actual answer is. Let's see, I'm still just trying to find somebody that would tell me the actual answer, unless the actual answer is randomly generated. And this specific guide I'm looking at isn't doing that. Yeah. So I guess if you're getting spoiled here, if you don't want to get spoiled any further, I would say turn away now, because the solution for the only achievement here is just to go left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right. And you have to be on a specific page. so it won't accidentally happen. You have to be on this page, which inherently you have to be on one of the middle pages to be able to go left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right. You can't be at the far right or far left with that combination. But inherently, that is the only input in this game, and that is just not good enough. Now, if this was a mobile game, and perhaps there was updates fairly frequently for more codes, there might be something there. I could even see maybe putting ads in something like this, or having people pay to get rid of ads, and just constantly adding more and more ciphers. But I bet it takes a lot of mental power and a lot of effort to make each of these codes. They are fairly limited in how many could actually exist and make sense. But yeah, I could potentially see making a game around that. But yeah, to really gamify it, you need really, really simplistic puzzles or a secondary gameplay mechanic in general to slow things down and just give you a break between the high mental challenges that each of these puzzles would be. If every single page was just like magically sealed and you had to play a little mini game or do a simplistic puzzle to unlock it, you could double the length of how long this game is instantaneously. But as it's presented, this just seems far too simplistic. Almost like this would have been a game jam game or something. And I kind of hope I got this game for free, really. Because free is about the only price that would be reasonable. Even if I'd only paid $1.99 for this game, I feel like you're going to have a significant percentage of players never bother to solve it or cheat as I'm doing, because I just have no reason to engage with this. I need a secondary gameplay mechanic to make me want to do puzzles, and usually the puzzles are the secondary gameplay mechanic. That's why when you have games like Myst, you have to have an entire storyline with characters and an entire world building and island and an entire Myst island for it to make any sense that you'd want to put your attention into that. If you just threw the puzzles of the first Myst game in front of a player, they probably wouldn't engage with it. Alright, let's do the code again. Left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right. And yes, I heard the noise. And we go to the front. And it says, in order of the Rosary Cross, seek new members here in London, head to St. Paul's Churchyard at midnight, speak Minerva and enter John D. Bring the author of this work. Being the author of this work. So, it doesn't seem like there's anything else you can do with that. Is that you've solved the puzzle, and assumedly the story is now you are invited into a secret society of some repute of alchemy. Boy, that candlelight reflection looks real nice. It almost feels like, in an effort to experiment with making a really nice looking book and a really nice looking desk, which, yeah, still looks amazing, the creator of this game feels like they've completely forgotten the importance of making video games in general. The part about making it fun and interactive. There definitely have been books around puzzles. And frankly, some of those books I think are straight up like not solvable because of one reason or another. And yeah, I could see people enjoying that, but bringing those kinds of puzzles to a video game interactive form is pretty much impossible. There's a book called The Maze that I read when I was a kid, where each page had multiple doors, and you picked what page to turn based on the number above each of the door frames to try and get to the center of the maze and back out. And you got a little bit of story each time there. And well, that would probably be an interesting thing if it was converted to an actual video game. Many decades ago, it was converted to basically a website. The actual solution to getting towards the center is you basically have to interpret a visual clue to tell you to do something like turn the book upside down, and when you turn the book upside down you get a different number, and that gets you on the path towards the center of the maze. And so if you just weren't certain that you were supposed to turn the book upside down, you would never ever find your way to the center of the maze. And that's definitely what I had as an experience as a kid, is that I just went through that book quite a lot trying to figure it out and was unable to figure it out at all, even working backwards, even marking some of the door frames that didn't have numbers as being potentially doorways that connected to other places, making the assumption that one door frame being shown on one page is the exit to the entrance of a different door frame. But yeah, even if you were going to do maze, you would have to basically go to something like the Unity Asset Store and buy a whole bunch of assets and make something similar to the book without having the full visuals of the pictures of that book, because if you just tried to scan the pages of the book, it wouldn't look that good, and it still wouldn't really play like a video game. Like, and at the very least, I would say, compared to this, the Maze book, just called The Maze, has like 40, maybe 50 pages on it. This game has 5. And you can't just make super difficult puzzles and give 5 super difficult puzzles. Inherently, I assume that this game was inspired by some of those other puzzle-like games or idle clicker type games. There was one that was a giant cube, and they were trying to get everyone to click on the cube. There's been a few games that are augmented reality games where it's supposed to be the entire community gets behind it and solves the puzzle, which that doesn't work in video games after the initial launch window. As soon as somebody has the answer, it's just way more efficient to actually look up the answer than actually play the game, particularly when you're being told from the beginning that any individual is just not going to have the wide breadth of knowledge required to solve it. Now, inherently, there is one individual at least that did have the wide breadth of knowledge to solve any kind of puzzles like this, and that would be the creator of the game, doing research and such. But yeah, I've never been a big fan of augmented reality games, and this definitely feels like too much of an augmented reality game. It's probably a little unfair to suggest it, but I feel like at a certain point, Steam and Valve needs to warn against games like this, or eliminate games like this that are barely interactive, because I could see a lot of people potentially buying this game thinking that it would be a lot bigger and a lot deeper, and inherently you're only going to get people that get really pissed off about it being short giving it negative reviews, or you're going to get people that really loved it because they got deep in the weeds and they were just that specific niche audience, and they'll rate the game positively. And I imagine this is a game that is perhaps overtly rated positively. One thing Steam doesn't do is force or ask anybody to review games very heavily that they've played. So if you're just ambivalent about a game, if you just are okay with it but don't really love it, you don't get a lot of those 3 out of 5 star reviews, and people that are just pissed off, which at a small level I'm pissed off at this game. You are likely to just go away and not think about it anymore. Like, there certainly are other kinds of games that could waste your time a lot more. A 200 to 400 hour Japanese RPG game that goes nowhere and has an awful story. Like, there's, I'm sure, plenty of them out there, where this is barely going to take you 5 minutes if you look up the answer, and it's going to take you probably a lot longer if you try to find the answer. This, oddly, and I guess I'll wrap up on this story. When I was in high school, I wanted to teach myself how to solve the Rubik's Cube. Now, this was in a day in which cell phones and internet was not as freely available, and the internet was not as well designed as it is now, or full of knowledge as it was. So I probably could have gone and read a book to tell me how to solve a Rubik's Cube and learn all the puzzle patterns. But at a certain level, I also was just wasting time in high school because I had nothing better to do. And so I would, for well over 6 weeks, probably closer to 6 months, I think it took me, I would just twist the Rubik's Cube and try and teach myself the patterns and learn things. And honestly, I don't know if I ever actually learned the patterns and the right way to do it. I certainly never became what modern kids are today with speed cubing, in which they can solve a Rubik's Cube just looking at the patterns in less than a few seconds. But I did it without any help, and it did take 6 months. And then at the end of the 6 months, I pretty much understood the idea of the Rubik's Cube and could solve it, if it wasn't too shuffled up, fairly quickly at that point. My point of the story is, it's not the old days, though. We have the internet, and doing things alone is not fun, and it's not efficient, and it's not smart. Actively, I would say even kids doing school projects should probably be allowed to use the internet and just look up the answers. Sure, there is a possibility the internet collapses and we go back to ancient times and have to look in books, but giving such a puzzle like this that is just cryptic on purpose, doing it by yourself is, in my opinion, and I can only call it an opinion, the worst way to solve a game like this, because it is just knowledge that can be passed along, unlike skill of actually pressing a button, which cannot be passed along. You can tell somebody how they're supposed to press buttons, certainly, but the person with the controller in their hand has to actually be able to press the buttons in the correct pattern, in the correct speed. And so, yeah, don't waste your time on a game like this doing it yourself. I can't recommend this game to practically anyone, because I can't in good conscience recommend doing it by yourself. So that only leaves people that would cheat like me, like I did. And I can't recommend the game for people that would cheat because it's too short of a game. I honestly, it's fair to say I did not engage with this game. It's also fair to say the game didn't really do anything to get me to be engaged with it. If there was more budget around this game, you'd almost certainly assume that there would be some kind of like cutscene at the beginning with somebody handing you the book and giving you some backstory and just some setup. If, for instance, the main character in Myst had handed you the Myst book and told you to solve the puzzles on his islands at the very beginning, that would have helped a lot of players. But they do that for most players if you simply manage to see the first message that is recorded in the first Myst game. But if you miss that message, if you don't see it, then you are wandering around the island uncertain of what to do, and that's not a feeling you want to have any players have. You want to know the general goal. So without even doing a fancy cutscene, without really adding to the budget at all, the first page of this should say solve the final page, or solve all the pages to solve the final page. But yeah, there's really not anything more to say, so that's going to be it for Alchemia. It's not a game I can recommend. It's very pretty. I definitely would love to see, in like a Resident Evil game, a book like this and a desk like this where you sign your name to save. That would be a very nice looking sequence. But that's about the only thing I can applaud about it, is the visuals, which very possibly were handcrafted, but also very possibly may have been pre-purchased. But I have no applause for the actual puzzles. Yep, I definitely would say play cross-cells before this. There is, I suppose, also a danger, since some of the last few cross-cells puzzles and hex cell puzzles of the many games in that series are fairly difficult, that there is a danger here that more and more of the games from this creator are getting more and more difficult, and that could be a problem. Anyways, that's going to be it for this spotlight, I suppose is what I'm still calling them. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos, because that helps me with YouTube. If you go to my YouTube page, there's a playlist tab that has a playlist for every game I've ever covered. And if you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites to get some notifications when new videos are available, those links are in the description. Furthermore, if you want to support me to the highest level, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game or a gift card. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.